Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. It's fantastic to have you here. Part 22 of working on the Viking sword. The first thing that we're going to be doing is getting this blade ready for the etch before we do our final little bits of engraving. So I am pleased to be revealing this beautiful explosion twist Damascus pattern. It's a thrill to have you here. VIKING is sponsoring this episode. We'll talk more about that later. For now, little hand sanding, and then into the ferric chloride we go. You know the drill. Into the ferric chloride after a degrease. It's got a beautiful 600 grit finish. The first thing that I need to do though is I need to see that really there is no oil on the blade. And so that means, oh my goodness, we need to have a look at it. This is the most phenomenal Damascus steel I've ever made. This is just out of this world gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Holy moly. Oh my goodness, that looks incredible. So that's in the etch. I'm gonna set a timer for 20 minutes, and that gives us a perfect opportunity to talk about our show sponsor today, VIKING. This is just a little piece of mild steel with some nail polish on it. That's how we etch the name VIKING in there. Okay, you've heard me talk about them before. They have come back and sponsored more episodes, which I am thrilled about. So VIKING War of Clans is a mobile strategy game based around the Vikings, which is pretty handy considering this project, and it's inspired by the role-player games of the 90s that you all loved and played. What makes the game so addictive is that more than 20 million players are constantly changing the way the game evolves, with constant fighting over resources, constantly building new alliances, and even competing in live events. You can support my channel by downloading VIKING for free at the links in the description box down below. Hitting those links is going to get you a special bonus of 200 gold and protection shield as well. And this month, VIKING is hosting a contest where they're going to be giving away 4 drones. They've got 3 DJI Sparks to give away to those who reach the 10th level, and 1 Phantom to give away for those who reach the highest level in the game. VIKING is hosting the contest on their Instagram page on the 5th of October, so make sure you download the game at the link below. There is also a link to VIKING Instagram. Thank you, VIKING. Let's get right back to the project. So the sword is in the etch. We need to go and finish off the engraving on our guard. The last little bits, background removal, a little stippling, and we're going to be done. Don't worry, this is going to get done real fast. Nope. Nope. Whoopsie daisy. Okay. I am clearly doing a very bad job of paying enough attention here. I missed a spot. How I got this whole way and completely forgot to remove the background inside that little curl utterly astounds me. There we go. That is a lot more like it. That is the last bit of engraving of the beasts. Now, not only do we still need to set garnets in the eyes of our beasts, but I think we might well also need to do some work on making sure that the stippling all looks quite consistent on both pieces. If I flip over the first piece, you'll see we've got a different kind of look going on. The first piece is stippled, it looks like, with a much blunter tool. Now, just before I got to the second side here, on the first piece, Lane Zolke had told me that it can be a good idea to stipple with a very sharp needle point on your stippling tool. Here on this first side, my stippling tool was not that sharp. And so you'll see it looks very different. And so that means now, about 3 weeks on from the last time I touched this side, it needs to go back in the vise for me to re-stipple it. I don't think that's going to take too much time though, but I think it's a little extra step going the extra mile to help make sure that we round off all these pieces nicely before we start moving on and get to the garnet setting. Okay, so the stippling is now much more even. They look much more consistent between the two, which is good. I ended up having to go back in here in that small tail area with a carbide burr, because on that one I didn't have a microscope and I was not at all as precise with my cuts and my burring. So I trimmed up the inline, I guess, of the gold a little bit further. And so this upper guard is now looking much better, looking a lot closer to how our lower guard is looking in terms of the actual, the actual engraving and inlay. Now, what gun engravers and engravers typically do in their stippling to properly achieve contrast is they put paint in there. And that completely blackens the background, and I think that's how they really make their pieces pop and end up with the most contrast on a piece. My concern is that that might be too much contrast, but I'm not exactly sure. So here's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna cut a line, inlay some gold, remove some background, stipple it, and we're gonna try and see what paint looks like next to gold, and so that'll be done in just a second. And there we go, we've got our little test piece. This is probably not ideal. I think what it is that professionals, or people with more than just 1 month's experience who have done this more than none, say is to use a matte black enamel. I have matte black spray paint. I guess I just spray painted on. I just wiped it all off. That's okay. I just didn't want it on the rest of the piece. And so then apparently they use their thumb to wipe off the excess. It definitely makes it significantly blacker, but a lot less black than I thought it would. What I'm now gonna do is get rid of it and try something else. I'm gonna see if stove paint, iron paste, will work. Wow, that's thick. That nicely sinks into there. Makes it very nice and black. Well, that is interesting. It's certainly not black, 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 but there's a good element of extra darkness. That might be a subtle enough thing that it's worth it. Interesting. I think I'm gonna order some flat black enamel. Try it the proper way before we make a full decision. Got some paint. It's not the exact right stuff, but this might help a little bit better. So we're gonna see how it works with this, some Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch. Oh wow, that blackens it very nicely. So there's how it looks after a little bit, and then a little wipe off. Why don't we try a little more? Yeah, that's some contrast. That certainly looks good, and that is an important test. One of the things that I've been thinking about as I try and decide whether we go for the extra contrast or not is the fact that our Damascus steel, which we're about to polish up, has extreme dark and extreme light. I think we're teetering on deciding for the extra contrast and for painting our pieces because of the fact that Damascus is going to have so much contrast, our pieces might need it too. Speaking of the Damascus and the contrast, it's time to polish that up. I'm gonna take some probably 2500 grit sandpaper, maybe even higher, and we're gonna go up that blade and make it shine. beyond thrilled with how this blade turned out. The pattern is unbelievable. I got to look at it under a microscope. Damascus steel looks awesome under a microscope. This is good. This is really, really good. I'm thrilled about it. Be sure to go download Vikings in the description box down below. They are sponsoring this episode, and I am very grateful. I want to ask you a question. Those last few shots there, you saw the blade with the handle and that little test piece with a painted background. What do you think? Painted or not? I'd appreciate your feedback down below. And speaking of feedback, I have indeed noticed that we've been getting some negative feedback, and I want to talk about that. So, this series has taken a long time. It absolutely has, and I can absolutely understand why it is that some of you don't want to be watching these videos. I'm trying to achieve many things. I'm trying to make great and entertaining content. I'm also trying to make a sword, a piece of art that is just so much better than anything that I've made, and that comes with a sacrifice. I can't have everything, and so if you don't want to watch these videos and you want to see this thing finished, hold on, don't watch anymore until we get this thing finished. We'll do a wrap-up video that's very clearly a wrap-up video so that people that have watched it and don't want to watch a wrap-up video don't have to watch it, and so that if you want an entertaining video that shows this process, you can see that too. Meanwhile, with my commitment to this sword, I'm going to be cracking on and putting in as much time and effort as this thing needs to round it off into a really spectacular piece, which I'm excited for because we're hoping to auction this thing off, and I want whoever buys this thing to be just thrilled beyond the moon when they receive it. Lots of fun stuff to do. Got to do some of my first ever gemstone setting on this thing next time, so I very much hope you subscribe if you're new, because we're going to be getting back with more updates rather shortly. Thank you for watching. I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.